No, no, no. It's you can take seat whatever you're comfortable. You don't have to be.
No, we are sitting here because we want to.
Okay, okay. Nowadays, if you go to the West Country or other places, when they say like meditations, they always, the sitting question is a little bit upper, which is good. But to me, it's sometimes too up, it's too high. So yeah, they just it's a recommended to in the text. It's a true because later slide, if up and then you don't get hurt to the color kebala. Yeah, back.
Because even my doctor said.
Right, right.
He said I have to.
Yeah, something like if they like this, and then you just use something like this,
So like.
which means this is
Yeah,
it's a feel better. But the monastery, we usually like this. Then it's a little bit awkward. Last time I went to the Mind Alive, the summer retreat, and they put question like, even some of them is very high. So we kind of like feel like sitting like this. And then I mean, they are comfortable, but we are not used to stay in the monastery. It's just kind of same level. Although it's a text recommended to put slight high. It makes sense when you're doing that. It's a much help to straight your spine, and that really helps. That's the thing. Okay, that's a sort of just if you want to do like kind of, because you can't, if you, especially the modern time, our bed is very too soft. So when you're trying to sitting, it's okay. I mean, they're supposed to, you just do right after the workout, because otherwise you are going to make breakfast, then something come up, so they completely forget it, and then could not do it at that time. But the best time is you just wake up and try to do that. But the modern time, the bed is too, soft. And then when you are trying to almost like this, and then it's getting sink, that's not good. So one of the things is, like we usually keep the people who are practicing the yoga every day, they keep like a yoga cushion, which is good because of the reminder to you. When you saw this, oh, now I need to do that. So part of the reason why we keep this beat and some other things, it's not only for the counting, it's for reminding you to do something your own, like puja or whatever in supposed to you do. So that's kind of a reminder. So that's why sometimes if you are trying to do meditation, you have to keep the meditation cushion somewhere really obvious place. So when you wake up, you saw this, oh, I have to do this. So then it's kind of a reminder. And also that's the singing bowl, which is, it's a funny thing is nowadays people call the Tibetan singing bowl. If you go to the Tibetan monastery, no one uses it. But nowadays you can see everywhere, even the Hollywood movies, they name it something like that. That's how it's a course like this, something, anyway. So, yeah, that's just decorating. So I don't have a much plan today. If you have a question, that would be great. And obviously today is the very special day in India, right? So we call Pandara Agast, right? It's an independent day. It's a very, very, some sense, I mean, if you don't feel that special, maybe just only holidays, what we feel every time the independence celebration to the Indian, that we felt something very different, because like me, we don't have if I go to even I go to America, and then the people who are immigrant workers really struggling, where should I put the category? So the best thing is that they can put stateless. So which is a kind of, it's a sad thing is if you don't have a country, you always hanging around, right? So you should feel kind of appreciated to I mean, it's important. I mean, the nation level is some sense very important to the larger and even individual, even we don't feel it. So that's, I think, it's a very, you have to kind of proud, or you have to appreciate what you have to do. And especially, one of the things is, some of my family who are working to the government or they have a very good conditions. And then when they saw sometimes news on the day in India, some poverty or some, natural disaster, they always worrying about us to, are you, do you get enough food, all these things. And they feel, not good place to live, But then I feel very, very fortunate because one of the great things, I'm so free. Like even I'm stateless. I have stayed here more than now, it's now nearly 24 years. But wherever I go, whatever I do, it's completely free. That's really important to, in human beings. And you need to be more for the freedom in your mind and all the things, right? So this is really important. So always enjoying, happy to be stay in this country because of the freedom, and the speaking freedom, and wherever you go, and if you have a money, you can go, and if you have a time, you can do so many things. That's the really, really appreciate. So in that sense, I mean, as a Buddhist practitioners, it's one of the goal is, even more than that. It's trying to get freedom from all the suffering, or all your mental afflictive emotions. That's even, get the better freedom. Like the early time, some people say, okay, you just follow whatever your heart says. Okay, follow the heart. The expression is. But then, question is, if your heart really taking to the always good place or, proper way, and that's really you have to questions, because then there may be dangers if you follow the heart. The Buddhist, philosophy text says, our mind is, I mean, the current situation or like ordinary people, most cases our mind control to the negative emotion, or we are controlled by our mind. Our mind controlled by negative emotions. And then obviously you see where we're going directions. So what we should take to go to, that's causation to reverse. That's the, Buddhist point, Buddha's making point is, you are your own master. You are your own evil. Which means if you completely follow to your negative emotions, that means you are your own evil, right? So at least noticing, awareness, what is your emotion, or what is your, kind of a negative emotion to arising. When you notice that, oh, no, I shouldn't do that. And then to reverse to that, you're just taking a little bit of control to your negative emotions, and that will, give a little freedom to your mind, and eventually you have to control them instead of follow them, or instead of control to them to you, or you have to control them. That's the point. So that's the Buddhist point of is the best freedom, because you can control to everything. That's the freedom. So that's why I call sometimes nirvana. I mean the very loosely term nirvana, because of the freedom of suffering. So it's a suffering means not immediate suffering. It's a what they call the kyawa duje jidungele. Kyawa duje. Yeah, something like that. So that's the idea. So that's why then how we should do. That's why we need to be firstly intellectually understanding to the emptiness, impermanent, all these things, and then secondly you have to kind of think again and again. Samjung la khal lag raha. To chung samjung.
Something that comes from thinking.
Right, again and again. It's more like more convinced to that's the reason. And eventually you have to cultivate. So that's why eventually you need to be single point meditation. So the So see, in order to perfect to knowledge, you have not only hearing is, just learning is not enough. You need to be, combination, both to hearing and analyzing, and also eventually you need to be concentration. So everything is, you need to be there. So eventually, so that's the whole idea. Okay. So do you have any questions or no? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Why is it that human nature, we very quickly get bad habits, but so difficult to get?
Right.
But both
Right.
are the same, right?
Right.
Both are
Right.
the same. But
Should
why
be.
is it that
Yeah.
first attraction is always there and then it's more difficult?
Right. It's a good question. I always used to think like that. So part of the reason is, we habituate that such a long time. So especially, we usually say there's a, we cannot, there's no beginningless. So it's such a long term. We habituated, then make pin and how to say, keep the lots of imprint in our innate mind. So and part of the reason is where we born is what we usually call the matak benuju lamna kalaure. Matak benu kichikde.
An impure, like a container, which is the world that contains the being.
The how we, there's a one. I really like to the one of the Abhidharma, the Vasubandhu, the great Nalanda scholar. He was saying the condition he's giving how to arise our negative emotions, and then they says, okay, mikba nyawa nebata yun sushi mai yi che da nyomo june chawa yi labdu nyomo ba che la yu yo ba nganso la phagja yo ba.
So the three conditions for a negative or destructive emotions and cognitions to arise is that there's some proximity to an object that sparks the afflictive emotion, and then there's the kind of improper maladaptive thinking process, the thought spiral that brings up the emotion, and then together with that, the long-standing habituation from previous, from the affliction having arisen previously.
So in that sense, in our especially in the current world, they have so many triggering to easily to that because and also the habituation we building every society. So that's a really one of the His Holiness always I think it's a great contribution. Or I think the part of this he says in our school curriculum or at our the education system, we should put more like positive state, like compassion, how to be good human being, instead of we always expecting something successful or become become rich or become expertise for the materialism. We have to also put a little focus on the how to be good human beings, and then that we never giving. I mean, very lacking to the systematic to how to be become good person or how to be better or like that. So His Holiness always the saying is we need to be put some in the school curriculum to be good human beings, because when we are growing up, all our education is something always tying to competition or tying to to only successful or eventually make how to make good income. All we completely focus on that sense. So we are kind of situation like that kind of environment. So then we are easily to triggering to and that kind of context. So that's the part of the reason is maybe that. So what I'm trying to say is, as the Basvendu mentioned about the object or triggering that our negative emotions already there. So it's not only our fault when you get easily to get negative. I'm a part of the we cannot blame, but it's part of the reason is in where we live in the world is a situation like that. So for example, if you are certain place they are going war, It doesn't mean you want to join them, but somehow you will into involved there because of that you have no choice, something like that. So that's the part of the I think reasons. But then, it's a good question. Philosophically, we could be either way because if the 50-50, that's the thing. Yeah, that's maybe we say okay if we born just hypothetically some pure land, and then only positive mind is where we cultivating, and hopefully somehow in next lab we will getting there. So that's why like in Chinese Buddhism or the mostly they are talking about the pure land. So you see there's always kind of refusing to the Amitabha Buddha, which means they're pure land. It's famous for the pure land. So they want to born there. I mean, yeah, there's a certain kind of practice how to get born to the pure land. But I don't think we need to be lots of other things, not only Pariya or not only pujas not enough. So eventually you need to be cultivating yourself. That's the point. Yeah, otherwise, shall we take just short meditation to just, it's very simple. Yeah. Take as comfortable as you like. So, yeah. Usually, I think it's as we mentioned, you can take seat or whatever. That the most important thing is, that you feel I'm doing meditation, which means you have to let us straight back. So that sense you need to be, a little bit backside as upper, that field. Okay? As I mentioned, we have to first appreciate what we have in a wonderful human life and a wonderful place and a wonderful opportunity. And we are very healthy, so which is we have to appreciate. But that's we cannot take granted to a healthy and wonderful, and that's we can because somehow if we analyze this, there's many people won't have that kind of opportunity. They get lots of suffering, or some even cannot get up this morning, even though they lay down last night. So that means we are alive, and not only alive, it's very healthy, and very enjoyment. Let's take some appreciation on that. And also we can take 3 deep breath, and as I mentioned, when we get into the air, you just kind of imagine to all the new fresh energy and then essence of the soil and trees get into your noise, and then through your throat and lung and all the way to your belly. Your belly feel little expand, and then come out through your maybe mouth, and at that you just imagine all the uncomfortableness or all the old breath come out. So just feel that. Some of the mind training practitioner or in practice texts mentioned if you could do that, if you feel comfortable, sometimes you can feel okay all the positive mind coming with when you are taking breath, all the positive mind coming toward your body, and then when you come out all the negative emotions come out. You can think like that also. This is kind of there's optional. Whatever that you feel comfortable, you can do that. Okay, so after that, what you have to do is I have a wonderful life. Definitely, I am not going to waste that. So what should I do today? So I try to best way or it's a positive way. I have it. You have to kind of promise something like that. But then more importantly, if you have a certain emotion make to problem, because we know best in ourselves. So what kind of emotion that's struggling to most? Maybe we have a human being nowadays. Most of us have a very very jealous to other people's, or something always uncomfortable when I see some persons. So what kind of emotion that makes struggling to most? So you try to recognize that. Once you recognize that, we know everybody have a little problem. There's nothing wrong with it because since we are human being, we have problems, some, but that's normal. But we cannot, that doesn't mean you are not take that to do as their wishes. No, we have to try to control them. So you just take promises. I won't do that today. For example, if you are always struggling with one of your friend that working with in your workplace, you have to promise today. I won't, disturbing with him today. So you just to strong promise, when you do morning, sometimes it really helps during the daytime. When you do one day and next day and every day you do, eventually it's completely solved, and then you get freedom. So you get much healthy because negative emotion is really does is there's no sure to make really other people down, but really is they surely down yourself because once you, for example, when you get hated, and then obviously all the our comfortable peace of mind is completely destroying that we all experiencing. So that's I think it's you just taking to the kind of promise in the morning. So that's why I think we need to be very short kind of thinking or meditation and right after when you woke up. That really helps to you during the daytime. Okay, so that part is done. So then as we did a little bit exercise of the selflessness. So today actually we have to more cover about an emptiness, but I'm just briefly to touch to the what. So that in order to perfect make sense, you have to have even more deeper analysis than what we are trying to find. Where's I am, where's I, and where's mine, sort of that. We need to maybe even deeper goes to. So so that's why usually when we are doing, we try to follow to some texts from Mulakarika that's composed by Nagarjuna or other Chandrakirti or Aryadevas. So so there's a kind of selflessness of person and the selflessness or of the phenomena, something like that. So we did about that person, but we have to go a little more to the other object too. So when we deeper analysis whatever the like a table or chair or even monastery, if we analyze this, where's the monastery? There's a person, monks, not monastery, but then temple is not monastery, and then so text or what really is monastery. So eventually, you can find monastery is only our designation or mental fabricate. So, but in order to perfectly make sense, you need to be slow or, cultivating. Because there's a monastery, surely, with a lot of dependency, lots of component, and all this combined, lots of component like monks, and then house, and then a text, and then yard. There's so many of component. When they compose it, and then we just label that's the monastery, and then we take granted. But if we very look deeper, and searching, we cannot find the pinpoint of there's certain essence of the monastery. We can't find. That's why great Buddhist scholar Thich Nhat Hanh mentioned, if you're really searching for the flower, and you can find only full of non-flowers. Same thing. When we're really searching for what is the monastery, then we found there's a full of non-monastery component. So, which means the monastery is really interdependency, or many component. That's just composition, and then that's the only makes sense is interdependency or collective kind of things. So, but then what's the problem is what our attitude, what we have always taken, there's always believing in very latent or innate thought. There's something must be existing, or something essence absolutely existing or inherently existence. That's our attitude in deep down, because our psychological always need to be some sort of a kind of grasping. There's some sort of core or some sort of essence that we believe in the very deeper level, which is completely illusion. So that we call the fundamental ignorance. So the goal of trying to understand of the emptiness and the trying to prove that sense of ignorance is illusion. Because that based on that illusions, then arise slowly to the self-grasping, and then that sense, I. It's not only conventional I, which is there's some sort of core of I, then mine, then starting to the attachment, and then based on the attachment, if you have a more attachment and someone hurting or someone disturbing that, and then you get a little agitated. So in that sense, all the root of cause is the fundamental ignorance. So then start all this. So in order to really need to get rid of the fundamental ignorance, we have to know what the nature of reality, how our innate thought of thinking, and how the nature of reality, and all these things. So that's the fundamental idea where we need to understand of the emptiness, and what's the beneficial if we really understand of the emptiness, or if we really cultivating to the meditation of emptiness, because fundamental goal has to be somehow to get rid of our negative emotions. And because we need to be freedom from our negative emotions, we really need to be independent, not only nations independent or personal independent, as independent from the samsara or suffering. That's our goal of whether you call it religions or whatever you call the practice of Dharma, that's the essence of practice of Dharma. Thank you. I just completely trying to wrap up to so many concepts, but it's not easy to make sense, but I'm just to making some sort of highlight it, and hopefully uh, maybe we can later sometime to get talk more, or you can learn some more other things, something like that. Yeah, let's just relax and maybe we just try to get dedication too. So as I mentioned, the first is, and the two important things you have to, at the beginning, you have to set good motivations. At the end, you have to just dedication. Whatever we did get married, not only healthy for mine and the family or society, and even bigger, whatever you can dedicate, that will be, whatever the large goal is to be good. Usually we just said, Chanju Simjo Remboche, Maje Panam Jechuruji, Jeva Nyamba Meva, Kone Kondu Pewara Sho. Or Tungni Dawa Remboche, Maje Panam Jeva Nyamba Meva Yang Kone Kondu Pewara Sho. Sisina.
May the precious mind of bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. And may the view of emptiness that has not arisen, arise and grow, may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to leave today a little earlier because I have to do something else. But I will see you here when?
5 p.m.
5 p.m. or yeah, or I can come later.